As you can see, I've recently installed a red underglow kit on my car. This is the LEDGlow Slimline series. They're basically LED strips in tubes that are daisy chained together, which makes it a lot easier to run the wiring for them. Now, I wasn't going to actually do a DIY video for these originally, but some people have expressed interest in seeing how I ran the wires around the car compared to them for those that already have underglow kits, and others wanted to know how did I get the wire through the firewall for the switch. So when it's daytime out, I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly how I did that for this kit. After testing the underglow kit to make sure that it works before we do the installation, the next thing you want to do is figure out where you want to mount the switch. Now, because I'm only going to turn this on when I'm parking and I want to have easy access when I open the door, I put my switch right here in the glove box, because I'm not going to plan on driving with these lights on ever because they're red, and that is completely illegal no matter what state you're in to drive it on. So now, if you open up your glove box and you basically press in this way here on this side, and then pull in this way on this side, you can open it all the way and then pop it out. So now you can see that I have the wire that's running down here. So I've got the power wire actually runs behind directly to the fuse box over here, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then if I pop this off here, you can see there is a ground point here, and I have the black wire is grounded to the bolt underneath of here. Now, this is actually also where I've run it through the firewall, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So there are actually two rubber grommets that wires run through the firewall. One of them is above the accelerator pedal, and the other one is this one right here behind the glove box. So you can actually get to it if you lay on the floor and look up, but it's easier if you take the glove box off, because then you can reach your arm through this opening here to work with this. The trick for this is that you're going to want to basically pull it back and pull it in a little bit. So once you pull it in, you'll see that there is if I can get it here. There is this right here. There's a nipple that you have to cut the end off of. And once you do that, you can actually run your wire through here. It's a tight fit. You're going to want to basically spray it in with WD-40 and then push it. It'll stretch a lot. I was able to get these two wires through no problem. Well, a little bit of a problem, but it's a lot easier if you actually pull it in here so you can work on both sides. And then once you get the wire through, you just have to push it back into place like that. So I showed you where the ground is connected to. This is where the power is coming from. I'm using a microblade fuse tap underneath the dash directly into the fuse box here. I used a test light to find an open space that was always on, even if the ignition is off. That way you can have the underbody kit on while it's parked. Basically, when you're using a test light, you want to use it on the side closest to you, because that's the live side. The side away from you towards the firewall is going to be the fused side. That's why all of the fuse taps are pointing towards the firewall here. You can watch my video on installing a towing harness into the car to get some more details on how to actually do this particular tapping for the power. I'm going to show you how I ran the wires before I show you how I mounted the tubes. So coming off of the power switch are two power wires here. This is actually as far as they'll come out where the switch is mounted. That's also why I didn't really want to mount it anywhere else, because I didn't want to have these be tucked so far back that I can't access them. Normally I have electrical tape around these and then I have them zip tied, but I'm actually I just installed these Y splitters that I made to add some additional lighting on here, which is why I have my bumper off right now. But for the front tube, I've run the wire along the side of here and then dropped it down here. What I actually ended up doing was I had a piece of paracord that I dropped down, tied the wire, and pulled it up through because I didn't take the bumper off at the time. But now you can clearly see where the wire comes down. I tried to follow the existing wire route. So there's some excess wire here. Normally this tube is actually mounted right about here. And then all I've done is, when the bumper's on, I've just tucked the excess wire up here and it stays in place. Now on the other side here, you can see I've just taken the excess and zip tied it together. Here's where it joins the side tube, and you can see I've got electrical tape on it. The kit does come with some waterproof thick tape, but I don't think it works as well. So if you just wrap electrical tape starting below the connector, wrap it all the way up past the next connector and then back to the middle and then zip tie it, this will definitely help keep the water out from this middle section here. So continuing on, so all the excess wire from the side tube is actually pulled into here, so that the way there's no slack, because this is a good place to have the slack sit in. So I've got the wire comes up here towards the back of the wheel well, above the splash guard trim here. And you can see it comes out at the top here. So there's this little like hole right here, but you can actually run a zip tie through it, so I secured it there. And then along the back, behind the brake lines, and then you can see that I have it zip tied right there in the middle. And then from there, I have it zip tied right there. And then it comes across and it goes. I have split mud guards here, so I actually have it come. I removed the bolt here so I can run the wire up behind here, and then you can see it comes out here. Now it's going to differ for how you run the wire exactly at this point, because I have these polyurethane splitters on the side, so you might have to figure out how to secure the wire, but the basic wiring around the wheel well is done like this. So I'm at the back of the driver's side. The wire that comes off the tube here is not connected to anything. So what I've done is I put electrical tape on the end of the connector and then a zip tie to keep it from coming off. And if you remove this screw right here, this plastic piece will come off, and then you'll see that there's like an opening and a space between the bottom of the side of the car and the side skirt here. So if you tuck the wire up into that space, the excess wire, and then you can just put this bolt and this plastic piece back in place, and that'll keep this wire hidden away. Alright, so now to trace the passenger side and rear wires. So back in the engine bay, if you look back there, you can see this wire that I have zip tied to the existing wire loom back there. And then I have it run down here, and I have it run behind all these tubes back here. And that actually runs right to, see if I can see where I'm looking at the camera, right there to that hook that I have the driver's side wire to. And then it's exactly the same way. There's no slack on here. I have the wire run behind here and then to the tube. As with the driver's side, I've tucked the extra wiring for both the rear and the side tube underneath here between the side skirt and the side of the car. Here's that plastic piece that I said that you have to remove. I've taken it off on this side. When you reinstall it, there's a little bit of a hook here, and it hooks onto the lip right here. So you'll basically hook it on and then pull it up and then bolt it into place. But if we get underneath the car here, hopefully my camera will work properly. Alright, so you can see I've got my wire that comes here. There's a hole right here. I zip tied the wires here. That way it keeps it away from the bolt hole, so I don't accidentally put the bolt through it, or the screw end through it. And then, as you can see, there is this hole right here. So I've tucked the extra wiring. It's all underneath of here. Alright, so now, if we come around to the back side here, so normally this is sitting right about here, and the wire comes out the back side, and then if you look, I have it zip tied behind here through this hole, And it comes up from there up to here behind the brake line, where I have it zip tied into place. Alright, so now you can see the wire coming from there, and it comes up. And there's two holes here. What I did was I looped the wire through the hole, and then I wrapped the zip tie around it. So the zip tie is actually not putting any pressure on the wire. And then basically zip tied it, and then I pulled it through. So basically the wire is just being held up there because it's looped behind the zip tie, and then it goes down to the tube. So, and I used the upper hole here because I wanted to keep it as high as possible and, you know, away from the exhaust pipe. All right. And then of course, since this is the terminated end, we come around on the other side. Basically, I just put electrical tape on the end of the connector, zip tied it in place so that the electrical tape won't come off, and then zip tied it through the lower hole here to keep all the wire out of the way. All right, so now let's go ahead and once I get the bumper back on, I'll show you how I installed all of the actual tubes. I just finished getting the front bumper back on, so let's get underneath of here and I'll show you how I have the lights mounted. So on the front here, I used the plastic brackets that they supplied with the kit to mount it in 4 locations. And these are basically, right where these are the 4 center bolts that connect the bumper to the splash shield here. I did have to enlarge the holes on the brackets though, for the bolts to go through. Use a step-up drill bit to do that. If you use a regular drill bit, it's just going to catch on the plastic bracket and make it spin. But if you use a step-up drill bit, it will easily enlarge those holes. So also note that the tube will flex a little bit, so I actually have it mounted so that it curves a little bit. As with the front tubes, I also used the supplied mounting hardware. Now, because I already had holes drilled to install the side skirt splitter here, I just reused those for my lights here. I do recommend, if you don't have anything like this, is set the lights as far in as you can, because you don't want to have the tubes showing if possible. The rear light is perhaps the easiest one to mount. If you look where the bumper cover meets the actual back of the car here, I was able to just zip tie the bar to here on both sides, and it's pretty secure right there. That's basically how to install an underglow kit on your TC and run the wires. Now, of course, it's going to be a little different for, you know, each person's car and different kits, but running the wires behind the wheels and the wheel well is probably going to be the same. I think the way that I did it is pretty good. I don't have to worry about the wires getting caught up in anything or destroyed. So if you're installing a kit or you're interested in seeing how I did my wiring compared to yours, I hope that this video helps out. Alright, well, as always, thank you for watching.